Morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
A lot of paper here. Okay.
So Margie, do you have the Zoom script?
Oh, audio, I'm sorry. There we go. Okay. No, still not hearing it. There, I'm not getting, somehow I'm not getting the audio. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, there, now I can hear
Yep.
you. Okay, I don't know what happened.
Maybe just no one was talking.
Now. All right, should we call the meeting to order? And read the script. This meeting is being conducted using teleconferencing and electronic means consistent with the state of California executive orders regarding COVID-19 pandemic. Zoom and YouTube are being utilized for this meeting. In case of technical issues, meetings will be uploaded to the city website as soon as possible after this meeting. We will be conducting today's meeting in a virtual setting using Zoom. Public Art Committee members and staff are participating from remote locations, practicing appropriate social distancing. Members of the public may view and listen to the meeting by use of Zoom as noted on the city's website and as noted on the agenda. Members of the public wishing to speak to the PAC may do so during public comment or may comment on agenda items during the discussion of each item and must be logged into Zoom. YouTube is a viewing only format. Anyone using abusive, vulgar, offensive, threatening, or harassing language, personal attacks of any kind, or offensive terms that may target specific individuals or groups will be muted and removed from the meeting. Please do not abuse this new way to provide public comment. Amen.
I like the amen there, Margie.
You can see how I practice it.
Am I taking minutes?
Okay.
Margie,
Yes, dear.
do you think I'm taking minutes?
Robert, yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well,
Thank you for, I was going to mention that, and that was number 2.
Carrie, what was the date of posting of the meeting, please?
It was last Thursday. It's always the Thursday before. So that was the May 26th.
Okay. Roll call. Lars,
Here.
Jeff,
Here.
Robert,
Here.
Barbara,
Here.
Margie, here. Approval of minutes. Now, the minutes listing here is February, March, and not April, but I thought we were just going to approve the April.
So I did have the February and March as part of the packet. That was the professional minute transcriber who has done those. That's part of the backlog that she's been working on for you.
Okay, did anyone see and review the February, March? I did not, I admit.
I did.
I did.
All looked good.
Yeah.
Okay,
Good to me.
so, and the April minutes? Yes.
February and March, we looked at them. Those all looked fine. Those both looked fine.
Okay, did you get the April?
So I did not receive April minutes to include in the packet. So you wouldn't be able to approve them today. I need to get them so that I can post them as part of the public meeting materials.
I did send them to you quite a while ago. Okay, I'll just resend.
Okay, yeah, if you
Yeah,
can just
no.
send those, I will get them on for next month. Thank you.
Okay, yeah, Robert had asked, I think it was Robert, that could we get, or maybe it was Jeff, could we get minutes within a week of the meeting? And I did it.
Got
So
it.
I'm
Okay,
sorry
so
you don't have it. Okay, so approval of minutes from February and March.
I'll move to approve both of those, February and March.
I'll
Do I have a
second.
second? Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Minutes are
Aye.
approved.
Thank you. And just so you know, I think I can, for the draft minutes, I can send those out. You can only approve them at a meeting though. So normally we don't send minutes out until the packet is ready, but I can do that. And I think I can do that and post that to the website at that time so that they're available for the public.
Okay, I'm
So are
sorry,
you saying-
who made the motion?
Ours.
Thank you.
Are you saying, Carrie, that, let's say when Robert finishes writing up the minutes from this meeting, he sends them to you and then you will get them to us?
Correct, because we need to make them public at the same time they are public to the PAC. It's one of the public meeting requirements.
So we would receive them.
I can post them when I receive them, and it's not normal. Normally they come out with your packet the week before, but I understand wanting to get the minutes so that they're available sooner.
Thank you. And they would be posted on the city PAC website?
Yes, they'll be posted on the next meeting's website because that's when you would formally approve them.
Thank you. Okay. Comments from the public regarding items not on the agenda. Nobody is here from the public. Statements of conflict of interest. Any statements of conflict of interest? No. Regular agenda. Sculpture Garden first. Second call for submissions, review, and selection. Are we ready?
Ready.
Okay, and I can share my screen. I do have, similar to last time, a spreadsheet for taking notes. But I can also, and so just to go over that briefly, I do have the 4 artists listed. And
Right.
then,
5.
can you see it? I can zoom in a bit.
Excuse me. Didn't we have 5? I don't see Gordon Carter there.
Oh, sorry, thank you.
Thank you.
And
Okay.
yeah, I printed it, but I didn't pick it up from my printer yet. So I'll just use this one.
Yeah, and so I'll be the note taker for this, just like last time. I think we had done, in terms of facilitation, for each artist, thoughts, pros and cons by each of the members. And then, I mean, obviously you can discuss about this and change this, but this is what we did last time. Go through each of them and then have a, I guess, a straw poll vote of yes or no, whether or not you think they should be included. And then any further discussion as needed.
Okay, there are I looked through my notes. I have 3 different papers of when we evaluated artwork before, and there are some specific things. I just thought I might read those since they're not overall completeness or interest. People are interested in hearing some of the things elements we looked at? Lars may remember. Okay. Completeness, relevant, artistic quality, creativity, technical competence, and intellectual value, artistic value, visual enjoyment, design quality, environmental, clarity of artistic vision, maintenance, materials well handled, durability. That's some of the things. Okay. So shall we proceed and do the first sculpture first?
Yeah.
Okay.
And so, Robert, you don't need to take minutes on this. We'll keep this spreadsheet as a record.
Okay. So,
And-
Hands Up by Hannah Gitlin. So shall we just go person by person comments?
Yeah.
And I'll just go through my screen. So Barbara's on top.
Oh,
If you're not
Well,
ready, then it's just.
I'm ready.
Okay.
I'm ready. I appreciate it. I think I love the message. I think the use of ceramics is very interesting and innovative. I think it's relevant to the period of time. I don't have any real cons. I think it's provocative. And at first it kind of put me off, but I looked at it more in detail, and I appreciate it.
Okay. Robert?
I agree, and it's not my taste, but that doesn't mean that it isn't a valuable submission. Being a ceramic artist, there's an awful lot of different things going on in the ceramics world, and that certainly wants looking in detail. I see all those figures down there I didn't notice before. So yeah, I'd be happy to see it placed.
Okay, thank you. Jeff?
Yeah. So as far as pros for this piece, really beautiful coloration. I think it would be a really interesting contrast to some of the other pieces that are already in the CSG and maybe others to come. I do think the meeting's really important and connects with a lot of stuff going on today. The anchoring that she described seems to be really strong and solid. As far as cons, I do wonder about the vandal proof, traits of this particular piece. And in terms of size too, so a smaller scale piece, it's about 4.5 feet high by 2 feet wide by 1 foot. So bit of a smaller piece, not that that has to be a con, but in terms of the scale of the CSG in general, I'm not sure how it would work that way.
Okay. Thank you, Jeff. Lars?
I don't know if I have anything to add. All good comments. I do like the color. It was something that really struck me and would be a nice complement to everything we have there. I also wondered about the vandal proof quality, especially the sort of the fingers maybe would be easy to grab or maybe would break. I don't know, but I just wish or hope that that won't be part of the CSG moving forward. So that's all I have to say.
Okay. So
I have one more thing. In keeping with the size of it, I wonder if it could be elevated and placed higher with a pedestal attached to it.
okay. So I'd be very glad to have it. I think it's fine. And I'm really concerned about the vulnerability to vandalism. I mean, I just felt so bad when the other sculpture, which was about this size and was, to me, a stronger material, was vandalized and injured, and those fingers and the lip. So I would ask other members, considering that what they want to do. My idea was to communicate with the artist and tell her that concern and see if she wants to risk it. Otherwise, I'm happy to have it. It's just, it's vulnerable.
That seems the appropriate thing to do. It's up to the artist.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. So
I get to me on that, just on that topic, I think we had one incident, one or two with the one piece, so we should have this discussion again, or what are we doing to prevent that in the future? I know we talked about security cameras, is that we could just discuss that again overall. So when we go back to an artist and say, well, it could get vandalized, we come at it with a more sort of proactive or positive, we know this happened, we're trying to make it better kind of approach.
Okay. So any other comments on this?
I want to reinforce what Lars was just saying, because this is something that was in our past meetings that we discussed, and what are we doing about it?
So my suggestion would be that we write a letter to the artist. Maybe I could do that with Lars, and to make sure that we have include what we are doing and what we're thinking of doing. Or if somebody else wants to chime in, please let me know.
Well, it seems like a little bit of a separate topic in a way. We could go through all these proposals and decide on that, and then talk about security of the CSG as a topic. Or we can talk about it now. It doesn't matter to me.
I think it'd be clear to just go through the sculptures first.
Mm-hmm.
So shall we say that for this one that we would accept it and use it, and we want to write a note to the artist and have consideration about its vulnerability? How's that? So that we'll move to the next one.
That is what I have on the notes for the sculpture. Did you want to do what we did last time and just go through and do either a thumbs up for yes, we should include it, or a thumbs down for no, with that caveat of we'll communicate with the artist regarding vandalism and potential breakage?
That sounds good. Are people ready to do that?
Sure.
I had another question before we do that. I believe, Barbara, you were the one who brought up about the possibility of the artist coming up with a base that raises a little bit higher off the ground. Is that what you mentioned?
Yes, I think that would help the visibility and just the scale compared to the rest of the pieces and the park.
Yeah, I would agree with that. Not that we should deny it on that fact, but to make that part of the communication with the artist.
I agree.
If we do that, I want to make sure also that it would be able to be very secure and screwed into the base. Again, because the other one of the first vandalism was removing it from the base.
Right.
We might suggest that additional pedestal might be anywhere from 12 to 18 inches.
And be compatible with the nature of the piece. So it isn't just it isn't separated visually and conceptually.
Okay, good.
All right,
Well,
got it.
I'm going to disagree with you there, Barbara. If she wants to use a block of concrete, it's sitting on a block of concrete now.
So compatible with piece or base?
That makes sense to me.
But that this is up to the discretion of the artist. They don't have to do it if they don't want to.
Right.
Okay, with those two items, people ready to take a vote on that, on this piece?
Sure.
Okay, Barbara,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Lars,
Yes.
Margie, yes. Good.
All right.
Next piece.
Good. The next one is the Rod Morgan, Standing Alone Together.
So let's go in the other opposite sequence. Lars?
I think so. The scale of this one, I guess, is similar to what we just looked at. So that's one question. I think it's a fine piece. It's simple, straightforward. It doesn't sort of wow me, but I like it enough. I think it's a good. It would be a good addition to our garden.
Okay, Jeff.
Yeah, let's see here. So as far as pros go for the Rod Morgan piece, I think the scale and the size are positives with this piece. I appreciate that it's constructed of heavy duty steel, so pretty vandal proof, most likely. He described really solid anchoring. And I also think this one has beautiful meaning behind it. And I appreciate his kind of accompanying poem, if that can be included. And I also think it would fit well adjacent to some of the more organic or lighter colored sculptures that were in the CSG. So if we do accept this one, I think that should come into play in terms of which pad it gets located on. As far as cons, just wondering about the corners and the safety of the corners. I want to make sure those are buffed or, not too sharp.
Mm-hmm. Okay, thank you. Robert?
Unless I misunderstood, what we're seeing in the picture is a maquette and the actual piece has not yet been made. Was that what everybody else thought they read?
I read that, yes.
Okay. And I was not clear on what the finish is to be. Is this powder coated or painted?
Said automotive paint.
Okay. Sure. I mean, I like things like this. I'm a geometric kind of guy, and sure, I'm fine with it.
Okay, Barbara?
Well, I'm going to impose my personal bias right now, and I get all the pros and I appreciate it. It doesn't move me at all. Once I read the title, it helped, but I'm just not partial to this kind of abstract sculpture unless it has a real dynamic, and I just didn't get it from this piece, so I'm not in favor of it. Sorry to be so personal, but I appreciate all the other comments, and I just don't feel that it's. It looks to me like it's more of an architectural statement as decor in a bank or something. I just don't feel that it doesn't draw me in as a piece of public outdoor sculpture.
Okay. And Margie, I like it. I think, as Jeff says, it's very solid. And so we wouldn't have to worry about the vandalism. We should check about the corners. I agree. And I think walking around it, it changes. It's one of those ones that really, what it looks like as you walk around it changes. In the pictures, we have the difference in view is the height, which is another way, but I'm thinking about walking around it. So I would approve. I think it's good. I think it's, we need to check about the corners, but otherwise I think we wouldn't have to worry about it. In a way, it's like a balance to the medallion piece, similar but different.
Yeah.
So I would say yes.
For me, it also had kind of an Escher-like style to it.
Uh-huh. Okay. So do people want to vote or they want any caveats or comments?
I'm prepared to vote.
Sure.
Do we want to check about the edges, or we just, it looks pretty much okay, and we can make a comment perhaps to him, because since this is the maquette, the final piece, maybe he can round them slightly.
Yeah, I think letting communicating to the author, artist rather, that safety questions, and that the artist can work that out.
So I'm not sure if I understand that. I mean, if this is offset in the middle of the concrete pad, we're kind of, I think, assuming that people aren't going to, get too close to it. I mean, some of the medallion piece could be dangerous too if someone was to trip and fall on it or something. I would disagree. I think the sharpness of the piece is part of what makes it interesting. If you start softening it, it's going to change the character of it.
And I don't think it's really an issue. Square steel tube has a rounded edge, and he's got to weld all this stuff and then grind all his weld smooth, and it's automatically not going to be a sharp point at the corners. I wouldn't be concerned about it.
Okay, all right. Then I withdraw my suggestion.
I just wanted to mention one more thing. I think that there's an alert here about how much we become involved in the artist piece, because what they're presenting to us is their interpretation of the nature of their submission. I think that if we, and that includes vandalism, by the way, I think if we're going to start dissecting things because of certain behaviors of other people, including ourselves, I think that's just a dangerous way to go. But public art can all be vandalized. It's out in front of everybody. So I think that's just something, and maybe that's another discussion, but I think we need to be aware of it, how much we become influential in the piece that's been submitted.
I think that's a good point, Barbara. I would say that goes for the first one, and they know the scale of the park. They should. They know the bases. So to ask them to put it on a pedestal is changing the whole feeling of it.
That's true.
Did you want to withdraw that suggestion?
Which for both of them?
Well, I already withdrew the one about the edges from my suggestion. No, for the first one about asking about a higher base.
No, I wouldn't want to withdraw it. That's not, to me, influencing the piece so much as the. I don't think that's going to compromise the piece. I think that maybe softening those edges would compromise this piece, the standing alone together one, because it would really create a very different dynamic with its abruptness, which I think is part of the artist's intention.
Okay, any other comments in terms of the issue that Barbara brought up in general, and as it applies to asking about a higher base? Is that asking to change the image?
I don't think so. I think the suggestion about the base enhances the piece, because with all the detail in her painting on it, that'll be on the ground and people have to get down on their knees to see it. I think the suggestion that the piece will present better if it's got a little height is one that the artist can take or not take.
Okay.
Yeah, and I agree with Robert too. And I would also, and we're just asking the artist, we're letting the artist know some of our thoughts. We're not, imposing it on the artist. And also, has that artist been to the CSG and actually seen, what the general atmosphere looks like and the scale, et cetera?
Okay. All right. So are we ready to vote on this one?
Sure.
Yeah.
All right. Lars,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes,
Barbara,
No,
Margie, yes. Okay. So just for clarification, when we vote, in this case, for example, there's a vote of 4 yes, 1 no. My understanding, and Carrie, please clarify, is that therefore it passes?
was
Sorry,
that,
the committee can do whatever they want to, either ask that things be unanimous, which I think is what they did last time, or be okay with majority rules.
Okay, well, perhaps let's go through the whole list and then see how
Yeah.
we want to do it. How's that? Okay? Okay. So the third one?
So this is Joshua Somone.
Us.
Margie, were you going to call on somebody?
Yes. Barbara.
well, of all of them, this is my favorite. I think it's beautiful. I think has a dynamic and emotion that is very engaging to me, and it's a surprise, and it's contrast to the other pieces. To me, is very beckoning and just shows a lot of variation in our choices of things. I'm not sure if that's putting it properly. I appreciate it. I'm drawn to it. I'd really like to see it as part of what we present to the public as a committee.
Okay, thank you. Robert.
yeah, I love the piece. My only concern is the distance between the mounting points and how we're going to accommodate that if it's wider than the pedestal, but I don't have an adequate sense of the scale to put a ruler to it. And so before we get there, as I volunteer to be part of seeing that things get mounted, I'd like to know that distance, not the whole sculpture, just between the 2 feet.
Okay.
Right, so he gives a 6 by 10 by 4 dimension. What is that? Seems like if that's the case, the feet would fit on the pedestal, but
Yeah.
It looks like they're within 3 feet of each other.
Mhm.
right, but good thing to clarify.
Hopefully that was part of his decision, his own.
And for this one, Joshua actually happens to be the chair of our climate action committee, so I can actually try to email him, or I have pretty good contact with him in terms of confirming that.
Okay, thank you. Lars? Sorry, Jeff.
Yeah, so as far as pros for this piece, it's really interesting. I've seen it somewhere before. I don't know where. It's very light appearing, has a very light appearance to it to me, very ballet-like. I think it would be a contrast to the other very solid, heavier looking pieces. I'm wondering if there were other views provided, however. I'm having a hard time, maybe some of you can help me, with the shorter piece on the left, trying to make out some of the other forms in that. Yeah, so that, as far as cons, and these could actually be pros as well. Yeah, so 10 feet long. So just questioning how we would make that fit. Pad location would be really key for this particular one if it's accepted. And I was even thinking maybe this is a piece that might be appropriate in that extra space along the creek side, as opposed to in with the other pads. And can someone also help interpret the scale of the rebar in terms of its thickness? Maybe I missed that in his description.
Looks like
So I would
3/4
just-
to me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, it looks like it's 3/4 to an
Yeah.
inch, maybe some smaller pieces within, but like the leg and the head pieces look like they're,
And the lower figure on the left is leaning toward us,
Mhm.
because that's a 4-foot dimension front to back.
Mhm.
Okay, anything else? Lars?
I don't, no, nothing to add, I don't think. I appreciate everyone's comments, and it does have a really nice sense of movement to it. I like that. You know, as a contrast to, say, like the Jeffrey Zankel's piece. It would be a really nice addition to our garden.
Okay, thank you. And Margie, I think it's fine. I like it. I like the movement. I think it's fits in well. My concern is, and I know, considering, I think it was Barbara's statement that we're not in charge of what happens to a sculpture or how appropriate it might be. That's the artist's choice. But I noticed he said, not suitable for climbing or active play. And a concern I would have is that, yes, we're not putting these forward as climbing structures. And we have discussed before, like when discussing the medallion, that there is the possibility that it will be climbed upon, or any of them will be climbed upon by children. So that's a concern I have in terms of what would happen to the sculpture and what might happen to a child. Aside from that, I think it's fine, but that is a concern. And I'd like to hear comments on that.
Well,
Well, if I may, that's a risk that's constant, and the Art Center owns the peace sculpture, which is in the corner of the square and is constantly climbed on and damaged by children. And that's a risk that parents choose to take, as well as the artists. The Art Center tried for years to keep people from climbing on and put signs and so on, and that was all meaningless. Parents who ignore their children let them climb on things.
I was going to suggest, can we postpone this until we've looked at the other two pieces as well? Like, we were going to talk about anti-vandalism and what other efforts we wanted to make. Hello?
So you're saying not to vote on it because we're thinking about vandalism?
No, I'm saying vote it, but
Oh.
in the larger scheme of things, in terms of safety, et cetera, can we include that in our discussion after the voting for all 5 pieces?
Okay. If we just get looking at our time and what else we have to, I think it's an important issue. And we, as you all know, we have a lot to get through. Okay, so are people ready to vote?
Yes.
Barbara, you had something.
no, I'll wait. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay. So, Barbara,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes,
Jeff,
Yes.
Lars,
Yes.
Margie, yes. Okay. On to number 4. Give peace a hand. Okay, Lars?
The sculptor is Beth Hartman. If I'm not mistaken, we have a Beth Hartman in the CSG already, correct?
Mhm.
So I think it's an interesting looking piece, but I wouldn't say we should not include it for that reason.
She did mention something, although when she put it forth with her name, she did mention that there was someone else involved in it, but she doesn't say that in the submission. Is that correct?
I did not see that.
No.
in the
Okay,
submission.
fine. All right, Jeff?
Yeah, give peace a hand. So yeah, 8 feet 9 inches tall, so pretty tall, and close to 3 feet wide. I think it's really beautiful. I like the classical white of this, like her other piece in the CSG. Again, another really important meaning. And I do have some concern about the fingers being vandal proof, but again, that's part of the other discussion. And as a committee, I don't believe we ever put any limits on how many pieces a particular artist could have in the same sculpture garden.
No, we deliberately did not.
And the fact that we have open pedestals and it's a beautiful piece, I think that's okay.
Okay. Robert?
I agree. I'm not disturbed by two pieces by the same artist, particularly as for the opening, we would like our pedestals filled, and it took 2 rounds of requests for submissions to get enough submissions to fill them if we accept all the ones that we have. So taking this on its own, I think it's lovely and should definitely have a place.
Okay, Barbara?
Can I add one more thing? It does say in her description, it was designed and created by a team of 4 artists and community participants for a sculpture jam event.
Ah,
So
that's
she
what I
is
thought,
the
yeah.
only one of the artists who is still involved with it.
Thank you.
She's the only one still involved with it, but that's sort of an odd comment. Like, what does that mean?
Probably that she's the one who has it.
I guess so, right? She said she got to pull it out of some secret space or something.
Yeah.
God, okay.
So we could ask her about that.
Mhm.
Okay, Barbara?
Okay, you guys, here I go. I was with the Arts Council when that big white hand was presented to the Santa Rosa Plaza. Do you remember? I mean, I think it's still
Oh, yeah.
there.
Yes.
Well, my objection was it was a big white hand. And I have the same objection to this. This is a big sculpture of white hands. And the objection was that it wasn't diverse. It was showing whiteness as a very blatant statement. I don't think that was what the artist had in mind. Perhaps they did. I don't know. I didn't know that guy. He was from Texas, I think. But I feel like in this day and age, with the diversity being such a huge challenge and necessity to acknowledge, I'm put off by the whiteness of it. That's number one. Number two, I find it creepy. All those hands, and I mean, the first thing I saw was, I don't want those things touching me. It just felt invasive, and it didn't feel peaceful to me. It felt confrontive, I'm left with a very unpleasant feeling from that piece. It's just like I can feel it, and I don't like the sensation. So sorry.
Okay. Margie? I like it. And I'm not concerned about it being a double. There's Beth's other piece is also white. There was no mention there about it being white when we discussed it. Caro's piece was white also, and it has to do with the materials. So she didn't paint this. So I acknowledge Barbara's comment, but I would not reject it myself because of that. So I would go with it. And yeah, there's the other question about the vulnerability. This one's a little taller, but still is vulnerable. But as I say, as Jeff said, that's a discussion for later. So I would go with it.
Can I add another short comment, just a reflection? And I appreciate your comments too, Barbara, for sure. But in looking at the overall CSG, there's going to be a variety of coloration, amongst a number of pieces. If they were all white pieces, I would probably be on board with that. But the fact that there are different ones kind of helps to mix it up in my mind.
Yeah, I wasn't alluding to the fact that there are other white pieces and they should be given the same consideration necessarily. It's just that this is so obvious to me, and I'm not questioning the artist's intention. It's just my perception is that I'm kind of concerned about the focus on white humanity compared to what we have going on in our society right now. That's all. I know there's gonna be a lot of white stuff, so I'm ready for that, but not this one, because there's so much tactile message of touching, and we've been frankly touched by whiteness for a long time. So
Well,
it's interesting. The first one we looked at has hands coming out the top of the piece as well. Like, it's very different, but it's kind of curious if we had two pieces with hands coming out the top.
That's what we got. Yeah. I would like to also just comment about something I think Robert said about getting the pedestals filled. And I want to emphasize that whether we fill them or not, to me, is not as important as that we choose them. So I would not choose something just in order to have pedestals filled. That's my comment. Okay, any other comments on this piece?
Actually, one question, Margie, too.
Yes.
So are we still trying to leave one for a sculpture jam kind of thing? Or is that just if we had an empty space, we would use it that way?
Yeah, that's kind of for us to decide. And I had some comments about that project, and we're not deciding that. We need to just talk about that today, but we're not deciding at the moment. So I would say, from my perspective, that if there's a vacant one, if we decide to fill all of them, then that's what we're doing, I guess.
Okay.
That's my perspective.
Okay. Yeah, makes sense. Thank you.
Thanks for that question. Any other comments before we vote? Okay. All right, Lars?
I'm a no.
Jeff?
Yes.
Robert?
yes.
Barbara?
no.
Margie? Yes. Okay, so that's 3-2. Okay, and number 5? Okay. Deflated, I think is the title. Barbara?
Oh, I don't.
Say what you feel.
Well, okay, I don't get it. It's something's kind of intriguing about having a football there. Is that what it is?
Yeah.
That's what it
Oh,
is.
Like it to me.
Yeah.
Oh, Barbara, really?
Sorry, I'm not a sports fan. I like basketball. Anyway, it just, I mean, it's kind of a funny little thing there. I'm not sure that I want it at a sculpture garden. I want it somewhere, but not there. I
Okay.
just don't have the I just quite didn't, the deflated, I read it, but it didn't stick with me, obviously, what the intention was, but I mean, I can't decide really. I don't dislike it. It's just that it just feels like it's maybe next to the ticket counter or something. I don't know. It doesn't feel like a sculpture to me. It feels like a football gone past. But first of all, it isn't really deflated. It's still in whatever you call it when it's
Inflated.
It's interesting that it was at the Cloverdale Sculpture Walk, and I never saw it there. But I don't know. I'm confused by it, and I don't find that. But I think our space is kind of precious, so I don't feel like that suits my interpretation of what we're trying to achieve.
Okay. Robert,
Well, Barbara, for your reference, there was a major scandal in football when Tom Brady and the New England Patriots deflated their balls
oh,
in order to be able
gosh.
to make them easier to catch.
Oh man. Okay, that's even worse.
Well, it's
They're a
actually
bunch of
really
crooks.
And
No.
I'm not a football fan, but I know that part. And
Now, here's an interesting thing, Robert, because I actually interpret it to be, with all of the concussions and issues surrounding football, that football is actually on the decline and deflating in our society. So I actually
I
took
think
it as
that
a very different meaning.
But I
I
think that you've just called it a sculpture because there are multiple meanings to take from what
That's
was
why I had to
done
say it.
and
That's
what
great.
and what it's called. And what I love about this is it's unelitist. And I think it's really easy to accuse us of choosing sculptures based on our taste as artsy fartsy people. And this appeals to an audience that's not us, that we need to appeal to. So I'm all in favor of it.
Okay.
There won't be any
And I love what it's made out of.
Jeff,
Yeah, as far as pros, I think it's simple, yet it's interesting in a contemporary way. And the theme also contemporary. I think it might connect it with sports fans, but also, from some of the comments we've heard the committee and staff already make, perceptions in the eyes of the beholder. So I think it would add another element of meanings, especially with the deflating aspect of it. I also think it would contrast interestingly with the other pieces in the CSG, not only with the theme of it, but with its color. Yet I would still just suggest, not impose, a possibility of a taller base.
okay.
Yeah, I agree. The same suggestion could be made to him.
Lars,
Sorry, I have to interject just because that's interesting, because with all the football kind of trophies, it could give it a third meaning.
okay, Carrie, as chair, I'd ask you not to participate in
Oh,
proposals by members.
no,
No?
bad. No, it's great.
Okay.
I just
With
hope that
me.
Ron comes with it, right?
So that's what I was going to say. Are we looking at two pieces here that go together? Or?
Kind of a cutout of them. Anyway,
I have a couple other meaning. I like it. I think we should have it. We have all over Santa Rosa, the legacy of Charles Schulz portrayed. It is very, very overly
Yes.
accurate way. And to me, this has a great Charles Schultz meeting that's even so much better because it just references one of his famous cartoons without without really just saying, oh yeah, there's Charlie Brown, duh, so I thought of that. And then of course we have Claes Oldenburg, one of the most famous public sculptors ever, did very literal pieces, like all incredible pieces all over the world. So that's what came to my mind with this one. I wouldn't put it on the par with that, but it's in that tradition for sure. And so
Yeah.
I'm all for it.
Yeah.
Okay. Margie. So one of the themes that's come up is meaning and all the different meanings. I remember that we had that discussion about the scrap metal from the fire that was brought up, that it had meaning, but it was not accepted. To me, the meaning of this promotes the elite of the football in this country, and the violence of that. That's what it makes me think about. And as a piece of art, I don't see it as a piece of art. I see it as a replica of a football that's kind of deflated a little. I'm not sure. I can't see that because of the base there. And I don't think it really fits in a sculpture garden. And I would agree with Barbara, maybe somewhere else, like at a ticket booth or some private property. Yeah, I don't think it's appropriate myself. Okay. Any other comments?
Yeah, I have one. I think that because it is so literal and it's kind of goofy in a way, there's a nice relief to it, a sense of the familiarity has kind of a feeling of relaxed interpretation or actual emotion compared to the rest of them. I don't know if that makes sense, but
It does.
Yeah,
I agree.
there's something kind of funny about it. Like, what? Oh, okay. I'm smiling and I'm not even wondering why, in a way.
It makes you smile.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, when you think
That's
about it,
good.
I mean, what is art supposed to do? Listen to all the reactions we've had on this committee about this piece.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Right. It's like, what? What were they thinking? Obviously, they were thinking.
Okay, any other comments? Okay, we ready to vote?
Mhm.
All right. Barbara,
Yes.
Robert,
Yes.
Jeff,
Yes.
Lars,
Yes.
Margie, no. Okay, so my memory was that our voting did not need to be unanimous, but Carrie, you had some other
The committee
perspective on
can
that.
do whatever they want.
Okay,
I think the committee should discuss it and determine it. There's no standard for it. I think last time Briona's sculpture had won, and you all just kind of agreed that because there were I think it had a majority, but not unanimous.
yeah,
But
that's my memory.
This
was
is a
that was
different
not an
call,
issue.
and this is a different call, and the committee should discuss how they want to handle the fact that we have some non-unanimous decisions.
Okay. Okay, sure, we can discuss that. It didn't come up. It has not come up before in any of the votes that I can recall on sculpture, on artwork. So that's but sure, we can discuss it. People want to discuss and vote on whether we want unanimous or majority.
I say majority, and I hope we don't spend a lot of time on this because we got to get to this opening because we have a lot of questions from other people.
Yes, okay. People want to vote, not vote, just do majority, not,
Majority's fine with me.
okay. Lars,
Yeah,
Robert,
that's fine. Then
Okay.
we're done.
okay, me too.
Yeah.
Okay,
Then
Robert,
we-
Robert,
Majority, yes.
okay, done. Thank
So then
you.
we-
So,
I
we
mean, then
have-
we're
we have
done. We're
5.
done with the vote even because we've
yes, and
already
we have
voted.
accepted all 5
Right.
sculptures.
Yes.
Right.
Mhm.
Okay,
good.
good work. Moving on. Agenda, where did the agenda page go? Okay, so I've lost my agenda page.
So the agendas for
Sorry.
the next is about
It's
the
the
opening.
opening, yeah. Okay. So let me just say, I don't know whether you all have gotten to read the comments that I sent to Carrie and just got sent to you all about other things we need to resolve and questions about the sculpture making. So my suggestion is if you do have that list, or you can look at it, that we just go down the list and make some decisions.
From the email you're talking about? The
Yes, it
actual
says
stuff?
other things we still need to resolve.
This came this morning.
Oh, okay.
I
got
know,
it.
I know.
That's
No,
before.
I saw it. I'm just trying to focus on what I should be looking at now. So you're saying in this list on the email, other things we still need to resolve. We should start with that.
Can I
Yeah.
intervene for just a
Yes.
second? I just wanted to say this. Can we just touch base on the communication with these sculptors, these artists?
It's
in
on the
terms of
list.
Letting them know everything is accepted.
Oh,
that their
those,
pieces
yes,
were
sorry.
accepted.
Sorry.
Hmm.
The sooner the better, so we
Okay.
don't have any of them drop off the radar or, put their pieces somewhere else.
Thank
Bravo.
you.
I
Thank you,
agree.
Jeff. Carrie, can you do that or do we need to do that?
I think I should do that this time because I think last time it got a little confusing. If there's someone that they should be coordinating with, so I can send them the email. And then if there's someone they would be coordinating with on the installation, I can CC those folks.
Okay.
Or actually, I can CC all of you. I did actually one note before we start. I did check with the city clerk and city attorney on Brown Act rules. Now that you have made your decision, the coordination of getting everything up and running for the sculpture garden is not subject to the Brown Act. So you can be more than one people and communicate and email back and forth when it comes to the sculpture and the signage and the opening and all that kind of stuff.
Great.
So that
Thank
will
you,
hopefully
Carrie.
help folks. Yep.
Thank
I
you.
was very glad to hear that.
Okay. So is that okay with people that we just start with that list?
Sure.
Hopefully we can move. Okay. Are permits required for any aspects of the opening event? Carrie? Robert?
The sculpture making event, don't we need to decide whether that's part of what we're doing?
Yes.
It isn't in the list down there.
It's actually above it. But yes, it should be it is.
I mean,
I
it seems to
had
me
it
the
on the list,
right
yes.
starting point, because other things will revolve around what we actually want to do at that event.
Okay, all right. So let me just say, this was initially my idea, was the sculpture making event. And as things are progressing and I'm listening to people's questions and thinking about all the elements, I think it complicates things at this point, especially with time, let's see, there's a number of things, which is what are we going to do about the supplies? How are we going to get supplies? Who's going to get the supplies? Who's going to provide the supplies? Who's going to clean up? And when I spoke with Beth about what their process has been like for Sculpture Jam, it was a multi-day thing. And they spent a fair amount of days organizing and conceptualizing before they got down and to the actual making. And then there's the question of whether or not it would be in the sculpture garden. So that's another issue. And now that we have filled the 5, would there be space or a way to include it? So there's just a lot of things. Then there's the question of, someone brought up about, well, Sculpture Jam could do this and so on. So my thought is to have that maybe at a later time. And if Sculpture Jam wanted to do it and then propose a sculpture from that, we'd have to, we initially thought that we could put sculptures on the ground, and then it was discussed and decided that that was not a safe thing to do because of flooding and earthquake and stability. We can discuss that again, but I thought it was a great idea, but it's just, and also in the flow that we'll have the ceremony of the ribbon cutting, and then we'll present the sculptors and they'll do a little presentation. Then they will go to their sculpture pads and people will go and look at them and talk with them. And how much time is that all together? And then are we going to hurry up and do this other thing, or have it? It's just, I think it's too much. So that's my perspective.
Mhm.
And I'm sorry, but I think that that's become clear. That's my perspective. Yes,
Agreed.
Robert.
I agree.
Okay.
You're
Barbara?
muted, Barbara.
You're
Mute.
muted.
Dog
There you
barking.
go.
This is still July 23rd, is that correct?
We have one meeting before.
Right, but I
The
mean, we're
meeting,
still
yes.
aiming for that date, and we're aiming that these additional 5 will be installed by then, is that correct? All
And
that's,
we have to
Yes.
organize that.
okay, because, I know the Sebastopol Center for the Arts, because I've been in touch with Catherine, and I think Robert has too. It wanted to combine the Sculpture Jam, but now I guess there's also going to be an art sale that day, or at some point, so that adds just one more thing. My initial inclination was to combine them because of the publicity, but I don't think we need an additional publicity. I think that our event could stand on its own. We just have to make sure we do our best to get the word out there, and I'll help with that for sure. But I agree. I think it's just too many things, too much. It sort of dilutes in a way the intention and the culmination of our event. It's pretty important by itself. And I think at some point, when there is a Sculpture Jam, we can certainly participate and have those in some way or another.
Thank you.
I kind of changed my mind though. I mean, at first I was sort of in favor of doing everything at once, but it just feels like it's too much. It would just be kind of, Sculpture Day abbreviated. Thank you.
Thank you. So
Oh,
Jeff,
excuse me, but I'm a little concerned about the music because I did.
that we'll
Mhm.
discuss that
Okay.
separately. Thank you. It's on the list. We can do that next.
Okay.
Lars and Jeff.
I agree. That sounds like a good plan.
Okay. Do we need to vote, or we just? I don't think we do, because it wasn't official.
No.
Okay.
Excuse me, so shall I
Yes.
take that message back to Catherine that we're not going to be combining any Sculpture Jam or art sale event with the Sebastopol Center for the Arts? I just want to be really clear that the PAC event is standing on its own.
Yes, and you might just indicate, maybe at a future time, we would
Okay.
just figure something,
Okay.
whatever. Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
Mhm.
It's a load over my, okay, music. So I had mentioned, my memory was that we talked about music as a possibility. We hadn't decided, yes, definitely. I made the comment that I thought something relaxing and peaceful like chamber music would be nice for, some of the background. And then there was a group that came up through Barbara, that Sarah Wing it's a country music, and she sent the video, which I watched. And I know Sarah Wing from long ago. She's just delightful. In fact, she was the one who did the Ignite. And watching the video, I felt it was a little bit too much, except they did one piece that was kind of a little more relaxing.
Actually,
So, yes,
that suggestion came through Arthur George, who's also very involved with homeless action and that kind of thing. But I didn't realize we had ever talked about music, so I wasn't even thinking about the chamber music either.
Okay. Oh, and let me just say, there is a possibility for the Santa Rosa Symphony Youth Orchestra Chamber Group. They're possibly open to doing that. I know the group. My son was a member of the chamber orchestra. It's not why there was a connection, but they're actually quite good. They were when he was in it. They're very good. I did talk to someone at the symphony themselves, and that was a little bit more problematic, and they haven't gotten back to me yet.
How many people are in a chamber group?
It can vary.
It can vary. We could say.
So would they, I think it'd be lovely to have a chamber group. Would they play like up on the patio of the Center for the Arts or something like that?
That's another question.
I would think so. We have the patio reserved. And if we are not going to do music up there, then we'll unreserve it. But we have not approached, just to toss this in, whether the parking lot would be closed off or not.
Yeah, all these things. Good bringing it up. My image was that we would have a tent somewhere on the ground rather than have them away removed, but that's a possibility. Yeah, Barbara?
Well, I don't think we need a tent if we have the patio. And are we having any kind of refreshments? If so, the patio would be none. All right, well, then maybe the music could be up there, but maybe something else. I mean, would the mayor or someone speak from there? Or will it all be down on the sculpture garden?
I think at the sculpture garden, because once you go into that patio, it's really, in a way, remote.
Well, then we don't need it, I don't think.
I agree. I think that we should, not have more than like 4 or 5 musicians, and we should use, one of the just top type tents that, vendors at the farm market use, and put them near the sculpture, run a cord out there so that there can be a mic and a speaker for the people who are going to speak.
So that was another question from the musicians was, would it be acoustic or microphoned? And that's something we need to decide.
Well, I think that's up to them, but we need a microphone.
And we need,
whoever's going to speak.
Okay, so we have to arrange that.
yeah, we would need electricity, which means we probably need to get permission from the Arts Center to use their plug or whatever.
Well, that's not a problem. They were already going to give us the patio, and there are plugs out on the patio, and I discussed that with Luna.
Great, they've been wonderful, yeah. Okay, so sounds like people like the chamber music idea.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was just going to add briefly. Yeah, I think music would be really nice, particularly if it's on the softer side and it's instrumental. And so maybe it doesn't need to be amplified. I'm not quite sure how much it would resonate in that space, depending on where the music is being played from.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Yeah, and that way we just need a PA system and a microphone for the speakers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And there are battery ones of those, so we wouldn't even need a cord.
Where are we going to get them?
I don't know. Everybody who knows somebody should ask about borrowing one.
You can rent them from Stanroy's, I know that, but there's a fee, obviously.
But we do have some money that was set aside. There was also the question whether there was any payment, and I said probably not. Just that's another question there. So there is some money set aside. We're not using it for food. We're not using it for rent. We could, for patio rent, we could possibly use it to rent a tent and a mic. Or maybe someone will come up with it, but we do need to arrange to have it.
So the Center for the Arts wouldn't have the PA
Well,
system, or?
They might, in that the guy who is currently the maintenance and facilities guy is deep into that kind of stuff, and I'll ask him about it.
Right, and
Okay.
we do have funds to rent that type
Oh,
of
good.
equipment too.
Okay.
And I would have to ask, but in terms of paying for a performer, I think that would trigger needing all of the insurance requirements from them, which
Okay.
is something we can please avoid for
Okay.
simplicity.
Fine. I think they'll be willing to do it. I think they'd be delighted because I remember my son, they played in different places and they were delighted to do that.
Okay.
It's a shame the city of Sebastopol doesn't have an amplifier and a cordless mic. That seems like an appropriate investment for the city to own.
You would think.
Yeah.
Well, now's the time.
We may have that. I don't think we do because all of our meetings happen at the youth annex. So the community center has that kind of stuff, but I don't know which is
so
easier to coordinate with, given the art center is adjacent to the site.
Yeah.
Do we have, how about we get one or two people as a subcommittee for equipment?
Well, I'll ask at the art center if somebody else has a connection at the community center.
Okay,
We're gonna have plenty more dedication, so Carrie, maybe we should ask the city to get this.
Carrie, can you ask the city? And let us know if they have or are interested in? They probably need to do it.
I can certainly ask if we
Okay.
have that. So it's the just the portable amp and mic that you're talking about.
Mm-hmm.
And a tent,
Oh, and a tent.
a tent.
Yeah, because
a
we're
tent.
gonna be moving around, huh?
Well, we
I'm
need a
gonna ask
tent for
about
the
the tent.
speakers and we need a tent for the musicians, or we can have the same place and just have the musicians go where the
Mhm.
speakers
Yeah,
were.
that would make sense.
So
Okay.
I think we may have some sort of tent which has City of Sebastopol logo on it. I believe it might be umbrella. What size do you need though? That's
Well, usually they're 10 by 10.
Yeah, that would work.
okay.
Okay,
I like the idea of wandering musicians.
not
Well,
chamber
it's
music.
It's hard for
No.
a chamber.
No.
How about a marching band?
Okay, so can someone do overall coordination and make sure this gets done?
Now, didn't we already have a list of
Committees,
who was doing
Yes.
what? I
Yes.
thought I had volunteered to help with like publicizing and
I think that was you and me,
yeah.
and I'll be happy to help. We're gonna have a poster, and if so, can the city
yes.
pay to have it printed?
I also made something up and sent you
Yeah, but I'll be happy to design the poster.
okay, good. All
And then
right,
work with Jeff on that one. And
okay,
other things too, Jeff, do you mind? We can be the committee, really?
okay.
Okay.
Oh, sorry.
Do what I can.
Are you going
Robert-
away or anything like that?
Well, the other thing is, Barbara, I mean, you and I are also contacting these artists, and this is something I wanted to bring up before this meeting ends.
Yes,
You know,
Oh,
we
God.
need to contact the artists about their installation dates and answering any other questions they might have. So I wanted to make sure we, you know, touched upon that before we left today.
okay, we
Maybe-
have just a few
Also,
minutes
the
and
choosing of the pads, we haven't really discussed.
Let's
the
go on to
pad
that.
locations.
yeah, that's very
Yeah.
important. And we only have a few minutes.
Well, maybe,
So,
because since this is a new iteration of artists, maybe somebody else could help out with contacting the artists this time and coordinating that. Since we're
Well,
gonna do
I
something.
said I'd be responsible for getting them mounted. So if you give me contact information for each artist, I will talk to them. I will talk to the Art Center. I will call Stan Roy's. And,
wow, thank you.
and sure, I will take on seeing to it that we have a tent and a mic and we know how to mount the sculptures. The other contact I need is whoever at the city is part of helping to mount the sculptures, because we need to have a discussion about drilling and putting anchors into the concrete bases where they currently aren't in order to accommodate the sculptures as they actually are.
Right, and that's been done with the first three. So Carrie can interface with the city with you. And I think we had a week.
Is that Dante or who is that?
So thank you. So I did just post my draft email that I just kind of did where you're talking about music to the artists, just to let them know that they are, we have final approval next Tuesday, but let's get ready. If there's a date identified, then for installation or a target week, I can certainly, so Robert, I can CC you on this so that you have all the sculpture
Okay.
folks' contact information.
Well, we
And
were
then,
talking about
yeah,
one
it's our
weekend.
public works folks. Right now, I'll know more next week. So Dante is the lead and I can put you in touch with him, but
Yeah.
they have a specific parks maintenance staff. And last time, I think it was the assistant superintendent, Nate. He just retired last Tuesday, but I believe they have already done interviews and whatnot to replace him. So I will know more about that.
Is
I'm
Kenny
told by Dante next
Okay,
week.
can you two handle that by
Yep.
email
Yep.
afterwards? Because we're just timing and we need to organize the all of the sculptures for the opening. And I'm willing to do that. And I'd like, if there's one other person to coordinate with, or there's someone out, two other people who really want to do that.
What do you?
We need to contact the sculptors, all of them, all 8, and organize them for the opening, to be there, to be ready to talk to people at their sculpture site, and also hopefully that idea, which we haven't all voted on, but that I have mentioned a number of times, the Ignite type idea, which is give them each, let's say, 3 minutes to talk about what's really important to them in terms of sculpture, art, the piece they did.
So we wanted them to do that in front of everybody and then
Yeah.
also stand by their
Yes,
sculpture
and
and answer
then,
questions.
yes,
Yeah.
that's my
So I
idea.
think, so that just seems like a draft email that goes out to everybody. And then we can follow up by phone if nobody's, if people are not responding or something, to
Right.
pester them.
And Margie, I will add a save the date for July 23rd, 1 p.m. in the email I'm sending out today. So they'll know, so the new 5 will know about it. Obviously Beth is the same. So it'll, and I can add, so if you can add, actually it would be Jeffrey and the folks who are already at Kara. No, Kara's is gone. Brianna.
Mhm.
Whoever the medallion sculpture was. Sorry, I'm forgetting her name.
Brianna.
Okay.
So
Can I
in
interrupt?
terms
Margie,
of
what I'm saying is-
yeah. We need to communicate. We need to have someone who's going to send them that email. I'm willing to work on it. If other people want to, if someone else wants to do it with me, or 2 other people want to do it, I just would like in the next minute to get that set.
We can run over as far as I'm concerned. We have a lot to cover.
Are we allowed?
Yes. the
Yes,
meeting can go
now that
long,
you've done,
yeah.
yeah, this is all the logistics. You can, but try not to do it too long because I've meetings in the future. But yes, you
Right.
can continue. Just go ahead and continue.
Thank you. Oh,
Mhm.
I was going to ask that, Robert, when you coordinate with the city, could you let us know usually the last time we had a week of installation, I believe. If you could let us know, just so if we want to, we can be there off and on.
I was assuming that we would do all the installation in the week before the opening. Is that what everybody else thinks?
Well, I think I would do it earlier in case there's any problems.
I would agree with that.
2 weeks before the opening?
Yeah,
That's
that's going to be up to the
4th.
city too, because they have vacations and all that stuff. But I can't speak for them.
Okay. I'll be in touch with Dante and the artists about that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robert.
And then Robert, I will send you the questionnaire that Barbara and I used with the first round of artists.
Okay.
Thank you.
It'll probably need a little updating.
Okay,
And Margie, you're going to find out about the youths of the Symphony Youth Orchestra, so we can put it on the poster and give them some highlight.
Great. And then they would want to know what time. So I know we're starting at 1. Should we say, could you be there for an hour? Could you be there? They won't be playing during the opening ceremony, but maybe while people are gathering.
Mhm.
Mhm.
We don't want to ask them too long. So an hour, 2 hours, what do people think?
I think if they started like at 1:15 and kind of introduce the whole event. Be nice if they could stay and do the same thing as we're finishing, but that's kind of a lot to ask of kids.
So it's scheduled to start at 1. That's just when people can come, and then at 2 is a ceremony, or 1:30, or have we talked
So
about
we
that?
need to decide that. I would think my vision is that have music as people are gathering, and
Yeah,
then they stop. We do the ribbon cutting and the introduction of the sculptors and the ignite, and then the sculptors go onto their sites. Time wise, I think 1 to 3 for the whole thing, possibly.
Mhm.
And that if we start, let's say we start we're going to be small statements, words from the mayor, the chair, me, myself, and we also had agreed to invite, and she accepted, Catherine from the Arts Center. So, maybe 4 or 5 minutes each or less.
if we start at 1:30, so it's announced at 1. And music would be great to start at 1, and at 1:30 we start
Mhm.
the program.
Okay, and then that whole thing could take a half hour to 40 minutes,
Mhm.
and then go to the sites with the music. I think having the music when they're at the sites.
Yeah,
Yes.
that would be nice. Yeah.
Okay. So 1:30. If it was 30, that would go till 2. So ask them for 1 to 2:30, 3 if they're willing. How's that?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Well-
Thank you. Done.
With a break, right? They're going to be 1 to 3 with a
Yes.
break for the program. Yeah, I
Yes,
think
a
that would be
break
nice.
at 1:30, between 1:30 and 1:40.
We should have one of
Okay.
us be coordinating with them and be there at the event to make sure that they don't know when they're going to, they do know when they're going to
And if
start.
they have questions and so
Yeah.
on. And
And
Mhm.
have
I
some-
won't be able to do that because I'm going to be presenting. I'm going to be on this. I don't know, we
Oh,
don't know where we're going to do
Yeah,
it.
I'm happy to do that, or
Thank you, Jeff.
do it with somebody else.
Excellent.
make sure we have water for them and all that.
Yes,
And are we verifying that the mayor and city council are going to be able to be there
the mayor has accepted very sweetly.
that date, huh? Okay, good. Wow.
He's
Yeah,
looking
and we will
forward
let
to
the
it.
rest of city council know as well. That it's-
And then, yeah, so they can use the people can use the bathrooms in the park, I guess.
well, or in the art center.
Yeah.
Art
the Arts-
Center.
We have
The
to
Arts
ask
Center-
them if
the-
they're going to
although-
have a sale at the same
Well, the-
time.
Well,
Did
I
you
don't
say?
know. No, I don't know. I have to ask Catherine. That was new to me when I got a response from her this morning. So I don't know. I have to find out. But they're going to be, that's a Saturday, right? So they're going to be open.
Yeah,
period.
they'll be open. And
Yeah.
so
Um,
the bathrooms off the front lobby are,
Yeah.
public essentially.
Okay.
That's
So-
my birthday. So I don't know if I'm going to even be there.
Mhm.
Well, we can celebrate you if you'd like.
No, you're
We'll
not.
sing. We'll sing
If
to
we-
you if you're there. Come, we'll
Well,
sing
Yeah,
to
will you
Yeah,
come
yeah,
if we mention your birthday?
No.
Yes, we'll
The
sing.
opposite.
I'm very good at
Days
singing
are over.
birthday and embarrassing people. I'd love to do that.
Mhm.
Okay. So we got the music set, basically, and a location.
Oh, Ives Park.
No, where?
Oh,
Where are we going to put the tent for the presenters and the musicians? We don't have a
Well, I think
Ives
that we
Park,
would
has that-
block off, I think we would block off 3 or 4 parking spaces if we aren't asking for the parking lot to be closed. But I think what we would like to do is block off the entire north side of the
Mhm.
parking area so that the south side of the north parking area could have cars parked in it. But the north side of the north parking area
Mhm.
would be blocked off.
Yeah,
And I will be responsible for bollards and tape. And then the tent would sit in the middle of that distance. So it's somewhat equidistant from all the sculpture bases and on the pavement.
Mhm. That sounds great.
and chairs, we need chairs.
I'll get those from the art center.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. When you're going.
Somebody will let me
out-
know how many musicians there'll be.
Okay. And yeah, we're not going to provide chairs for attendees, just the
No.
musicians.
No,
yeah.
just for the.
Okay. When you're talking north-south, that's not my strength. So where I'm what I've been
The north
envisioning is
parking
near
lot of
near
the art
parking-
center,
near the
the-
playground.
Near the
The
sculptures.
parking lot adjacent to the sculpture garden is the north parking lot.
Yes, but you're talking about one end or the other, and I was thinking the end
No,
that's
the
closer
middle.
to the playground.
I was talking about in the middle.
Closing it in the
So
middle,
that-
closing the middle.
We're going to put the music and the microphone in the middle
Okay,
so that it's somewhat equidistant from
lovely.
each end of the sculpture garden.
Okay. Okay,
I
great.
mean,
Thank you.
That sounds good. Yeah. So I think this all sounds great, and we can work on it and have one more meeting. But think the PR has to go out before the next meeting, right? So Barbara said she would get together a
Mhm, mhm.
flyer, and
Yeah,
we have a list, all the art centers, et cetera, that we sent for the call, right? We can send it to all them again.
we'll do a press release.
And Holly, we should send Holly Hanson at the city communications person. She
Right.
can help us with that. That's her forte.
so I'm sorry, Barbara and Lars are doing this?
Uh-huh.
I'm
Just a
happy- yeah,
simple
I can help.
question.
Sure.
Okay, and we'll send some photos of the artwork and things with, there's a media list that we have that's local.
I mean,
we
Jeff,
gonna-
Jeff had said he would do it, but I'm happy to help Jeff if you're got too much to do or whatever.
Yeah.
I can do a draft and send it to both of you, and then, well, if it's okay, we'll go ahead and send it out.
Are we
Right.
going to also have a poster that we can put up around town?
Yeah, yeah.
As long as we take them and put them up this time. Because last time
This time we will.
John printed a whole bunch of the
Yeah.
call posters and nobody used them.
Yeah, I did a couple. I did a
Yeah.
few,
No, we
but
should,
yeah.
that would be good. We could take them
Just-
around
yeah,
to the
just make that by
galleries and
11.
such.
Mhm.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Okay.
And where, Robert, when you, in your vision, when we have the tent and the speakers in the parking lot in the middle, where do you envision the audience to be?
Well, then the audience is basically on the lawn around the sculptures.
Yes, perfect.
Okay,
Mhm.
and they're,
Oh, the
there's no place
microphone-
for them to sit, so they're going to be standing?
Yes, we
Yeah.
have no idea how many people and there's
No.
no place to put chairs, so I think it's a standing event. In addition to which,
Yeah,
you want each artist to be able to discuss their piece, is that correct?
Yes, on the platform, not a platform, but in the,
So we might then carry the microphone and hopefully battery speaker to that
I
sculpture.
think
Oh, no,
she
no,
was
no.
talking more
No.
informally. After the presentation, then everybody breaks up and the sculptors go to their piece. And
Ah.
if you want to go talk to them informally, you
so
do that.
what my
Okay.
idea was that the opening event, ceremony type thing. And so just so everyone's clear and people say, well, you never said that. So, so we would first have some words from the mayor, then from me, and then from Catherine. And then we would, well, people can say when they think we should do this, which is cut the ribbon. to open it, and where the ribbon will go, I don't know, but we'll need to think about that. And then, oh, no, before that, I would introduce just name the sculptures, have them come up and then their piece and where it is. And then, that's right, the end would be the ribbon cutting. And then give them each 3 minutes to address everybody. And the Ignite thing is just, has nobody else seen these? They were so wonderful. It's like you've got 3 minutes to talk about something that is your passion. And people are just like so energetic, and they just talk, they go quick, and it's really lively. And then the next person comes up. So that was the idea.
And is that instead of their appearing with their sculpture?
No, it's before. Then we
Okay.
cut the ribbon and it's open, and then people go to their, and we tell everyone, they're going to go to their sculpture, and the audience, hopefully huge audience, will or not, will be welcome to come and talk and see their sculpture and talk to them about it. And that'll be it.
And that won't be amplified, right? When they're, if the sculptor is at each piece, they'll just be
No,
kind of an
no.
informal discussion.
Yes.
And is that timed also?
We can say they'll, we should ask them, would you be willing to be there for
'Cause
20
they're gonna-
minutes, 30 minutes?
Yeah, well, but they're going to move along from sculpture to sculpture, right?
Hopefully.
No, the way you laid it out, all the artists are at their sculptures, and the
Yes,
audience
yes.
wanders around.
Wanders around.
And
Oh,
chats.
okay. I get it.
Yeah.
So the sculptors are sort of there until nobody wants to talk to them anymore.
Right. So, but we might give them an estimate of 20 to 30 minutes or something like that.
I wouldn't
What do
think
you
it'll be more than that.
More?
I don't think it would be more.
Don't be thinking. Okay. So is that too much?
Well,
Well,
when
it's
nobody, I mean, the sculptors want to talk about their work, and when there's nobody to talk to, they'll
Yeah,
go.
Yeah,
I think that should be at the very end so that the people can wander around.
it is.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So again, I don't have, it's not clear to me. I said I would be willing to describe all that and write something to send to all the sculptors, all 8 of them. And is that okay? And do people, is there someone who wants to work with me on that?
Well, I just put in the minutes that Jeff said he would manage the timeline.
Oh.
Did I misinterpret that?
What
You
does that
mean-
mean?
The day of, you mean?
Timeline for
Oh,
installation.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
that's
I thought
different.
it was the timeline for the event. Who is managing the timeline for the event?
I was in the initial thing, the overall.
I was willing to greet the artists, make sure they know where they're going to be, provide them with any refreshments,
Oh, okay.
etc. Yeah,
Okay, on the
give
day
them a
of.
massage.
The MC
Okay, but I think in the interest of time, like
host.
some of that stuff we can do next month too. Like that's sort of the details of the very last bit. But I want
Yeah.
to make sure who's talking to the artist now about installation dates and all that. Robert said you would
I'm
coordinate.
doing that.
Right. Okay, great. And then
And-
the Barbara's doing PR. Those are the 2 big things we need
Well,
to.
also we need to get them on board in terms of what we're going to do, what they're going to be doing at the opening. And I want to do that as soon as possible.
Right. So you were
That's
going
why-
to draft an email for that.
Yes,
Okay, great. I can, if you need help with that, I can help, Margie.
thank you.
I have one more topic when it's appropriate here.
and I
Right.
have to ask one more thing too with Carrie for the PR. Do you have photographs, Carrie, that you can send JPEGs to me of the artwork? Did you? Oh, yeah.
Well, they're in that
Sorry,
document.
For all of the, yeah, so they were in what I've forwarded to you already, but I can resend those if you
Well,
need,
just
Barbara.
as attachments, are they separated from the text in the what you just sent? In other words,
Let
never-
me, I can just resend you the original things, which will be, a lot of them were separate JPEGs, yes.
Okay, thank you.
And some of the submissions have email addresses and some don't. Carrie, can you send us all the email
Mhm.
addresses of the sculptures to everyone, please?
So you were all just CC'd on the emails out to the 5 artists. Thank you,
Okay.
Lars, for catching that I called them all Hannah Rose. I have let them know that that was not a mistake. They were also selected. Sorry. This is what happens when I try to do things too fast. So those 5 have all been contacted. So it's just the Jeffrey Zankel and Briona from the last set.
Right,
Because obviously Beth Hartman is also included in the.
right. Mhm.
Thank you. I have
Yep.
2 things. Margie, I think if this isn't already taking place, it would be really beneficial for us, particularly for the opening, if we have kind of a hit list of what we're trying to accomplish and who's accountable for what.
Want to write that up?
You know, at our next meeting. I am happy to do it if I
Oh,
have.
no, that's right. I'm
minutes and or
overview.
notes, but I don't,
Okay,
otherwise
I'll do that.
it's
I'll
all
do
over the
that.
place. And the
Okay.
second thing is, did we did we schedule another meeting for the assignment of the pads? Because I don't know how we're going to accomplish that today.
Oh, good one.
We
I
have
had it, thank you.
not, but we could do that at the July 6th meeting.
Yes, because that's before the installation, so we definitely should do. We might consider meeting in person outdoors on July
Yes.
6th.
Definitely, yeah, that's what we did last time. It was very helpful.
Excellent, excellent. And I will, in my email to them, I will say that on July 6th, we will meet and decide where the new sculptures will go. So they know it's up to us.
Perfect, that
And they know
sounds
when
great,
they'll
yeah.
know. Okay,
Okay,
good.
Yeah, and I have emailed, Robert, I have emailed and CC'd you, Public Works, to let them know the 11th to the 20th is our target.
Yeah.
So we'll be able to get that coordinated.
Yeah, and I'll get a hold of Dante, and before I get a hold of the artists to see when City would like a couple of dates when they'd be available, and then I'll tell the artist to pick one.
Perfect.
yep, that's great.
So in terms of dates for the installation, you're going to be let the artists know soon what range we're looking at, Robert? Is that
Yes.
correct? Thank you.
Well, I'm going to pick a couple of specific dates with Dante
Okay,
when he will provide people and equipment. And then I will give the artists the option of whichever of those dates they want.
excellent.
So just
And times.
FYI, Robert, I sent you the information and questions that were shared with the artists last time.
Great.
I've updated a few things in there. You'll probably have to disregard the point about which pads they're supposed to put theirs on, because that'll probably come later. And then
And if necessary, I'll go and visit the artists and look at the piece so that I have a clear idea in mind on what hardware will be necessary.
And then
Wow.
FYI, the first time around, it was Tuesdays and Thursdays when the installs happened. So that might be part of your discussion with Dante and or whoever else from PW you talk to.
Sure. Mhm.
And just to remind everyone, I think we all were here then, maybe not Robert, but we had the installation dates, and there was one artist who originally thought they could be ready for the installation date, and then there was no, and eventually was. So just so you know, this may happen.
And I think we only have the one sculpture that is actually not already done,
Wonderful.
right?
Yeah.
So like all the one had the maquette, the
Oh.
geometric one, the rest of
Yes.
them that look like all the sculptures are actually, they're completed.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
So my other topic,
Mm.
the entry sign. At this point, I believe that there has not, nobody has told me that there was a response from county.
I have heard nothing.
Okay, so
Yeah.
here's the deal, Carrie. When the lease was written, I didn't trust the county. And our side wrote a clause into the lease that says, if the county does not respond to any request within 30 days, it is automatically approved. Because I was
Right.
never willing to trust them to be on time. So that period has passed and they have approved what we proposed by default. And I am willing to be the one who apologizes afterward and points out the lease clause to them.
I think Una would join you in that. Probably.
I'm sure she would. And I'm not sure that she's aware of that clause, but I'll see to it that she is. And so if there's a sign 36 by 44 inches with the logo and the information and so on that somebody designs to that size and the sign gets made, I will put it up. And I will move the other sign around to the back side of the posts. So who would that be?
I think we might be able to enlist Jen Verts, the former PAC member. She did the original sign and she's good at graphics, so I'm happy to ask her.
Okay, so 36 by 44. Lars, I'm going by your suggestion that 4 inches past the side of the post is legal.
Correct.
In that case, that's the dimension.
Right.
That's terrific, Robert.
So if, Carrie, you can get Jen to design to that proportion, will the city have the sign made?
Yes, so Dante does have a sign manufacturer. I think we talked about that in an earlier meeting. The people who are doing the small signs can't do that size format, so he's got to have his actual sign manufacturer do it, but he can do it in aluminum.
Yeah,
Yep.
aluminum is what we're expecting, and we would
Yep.
certainly like to have it up for the open.
And what about the other entrance sign?
What other entrance?
We're
sign
going to
is
have
that?
two signs, two large signs, one at each
Oh,
end as an
right.
entrance. And we decided on it. And then there was a question about this or that. And then it was redecided. And both are
Right,
supposed to
so
be
we
there.
can do it with the 2 posts. We wanted to make sure that it was coordinated with the other sign if possible. I don't know if 4 feet by 3 feet is appropriate for that location because it's a much smaller, it's a pedestrian scale kind of sign. So I would just need to know. I mean, I think we just reduce down whatever is designed for the main sign and to be, I don't know, 2.5 feet wide, maybe.
Well, I would do 2 identical,
me.
and we'll just set it off just to the side of the paved path from the SCA parking lot to the path that goes into Ives Park. And then if the city can bring an auger, we'll drill 2 holes, fill them with cement, stick a couple of posts in there at the same
Well,
distance.
the city,
No,
this,
the
yeah,
location was, you know where the playground is?
Yeah,
Is coming from the playground to the site. There's those
I see.
yellow posts and we moved the garbage can. That's the other entrance.
right. And that seems, for 3.5 feet seems a little big for there is all I'm suggesting.
Yeah,
Well,
I agree with you,
what-
Carrie. And is it too late on July 6th, since we're going to be out there to discuss that? To finalize a decision about that second sign?
But I can check and let you all know. I don't know what the lead time is from Dante's sign manufacturer.
I would suggest just get moving on it as soon as possible and agree to a slightly reduced size, but identical visually.
fine.
Let's just, things are moving so slowly and we really want those signs up before the
Sounds
opening.
good. And then I believe Jeff and Lars were the people assigned to signage decisions. Should I need to talk to somebody? So I'll just stick
Okay.
with you guys.
And
just
then
like
the signage on the individual pieces.
that should not be a problem. The
When is that
sign
gonna
company has Well, obviously, they're not going to order them until council approves them, but their lead time at DNS awards is like a week. So that shouldn't be, they should be ready by the time the sculptures are ready for installation.
What about the ones already existing?
We already have those. So those can, I think Dante said next week they could be in.
Ah,
But those, or they can install them all at the same time. I think there was a, yeah,
please ask him if he can install them next week.
okay.
Just,
Okay.
get it
Yeah.
get done as much as we can get done.
Sounds
So
good.
also, regarding the signage, I can, or someone else in their communication with the artist, ask, some of them have said specifically what they would want on their signage, but we can confirm. So I'll do that. Unless someone else wants to.
Well,
There were
that's
little
part of-
signs on there.
That's part of that questionnaire that Robert would be sharing with the new artist.
Okay, fine, then I won't do it. That's good. Thank you. Robert, is you understand that?
No, I'm a little distracted trying to be the secretary.
I know.
Sure.
So say it again, please.
Okay, so the question is to confirm, to get a confirmed statement from the 5 new sculptors, specifically what they want, the title, how they want the title to read of their work, and how they want their name to read.
Okay,
So Jeff was saying that you were going to do that, and I said, that's okay, otherwise I will, so let me know.
well, I would just assume that you do that separately by email with the artists, and I will just work on the install.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. What else? Oh, scissors and ribbon.
City Hall has those, so we're good on those.
Who does?
City Hall,
City Hall.
the
And
city
so-
has those.
Okay, and then how are we going to be sure we have it available and present?
I will be responsible for bringing it.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And anybody have a suggestion? I guess should put them on one of the entrances. Where should we have the ribbon?
Why don't we talk about that on July 6th?
Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Good idea.
Thank you. Other things.
Well, we could just wrap up, any other location things for the opening also on July 6th. There were some questions about some of those items.
Okay. Okay.
I have to leave today's meeting at 12:30.
Okay.
Yeah, so do I.
Okay, and our discussion about security and safety, we'll have, we can forward that to the next meeting. And I understand we're just not going to say anything to the artists about that.
Well, I don't think there's anything we can say. I mean, hopefully they've all been to the site, and they're artists who seem to have some experience with public art.
Yeah.
Okay,
don't
and
mind.
if we end up with another one broken, that's just part of the process.
I'm sorry, they've all received something in writing that says that it's not our responsibility if it's broken?
One would hope.
Yes, they have the volunteer waiver form, and that it was very clear in the call that needed to be vandal resistant.
Okay,
Okay, and the waiver forms need to, who's going to make sure they fill them out and return them?
The volunteer forms, I will do that because I need that for the city's records.
The waiver forms. Yeah, okay, good. Excellent.